Today we're going back in time, or more so visiting the fashion graveyard, to rank the most down bad fashion brands. Starting with the most recent brands that are not necessarily dead, but more so fell off their own trend wave, and then going all the way down to the brands that are hated, dead, may not even see another release from them ever again. Carhartt in 2020 had a big year with their Detroit jacket and double knees being a staple in the whole workwear aesthetic trend. But fast forward to beginning of 2023 and it's something that you don't really see as much anymore. I don't think it's completely dead in the water, but it just became a trend that just got overtaken by another trend, and it just shows us that these trends just come and go. Something can become really popular, but then a year if not months goes by and then it goes right into the fashion graveyard. And I also feel like Dickies can also fit in this category too. Dickies pants were popular a year ago. I remember me and my friends would go to our local Walmart trying to find a pair so we can see what the hype was all about, but they were sold out in almost every store, and now it's just been forgotten by the masses. Arc'teryx is another popular brand, being a staple brand to the whole corp aesthetic that really took off about a year ago. Like, y'all remember when people be recording themselves in the shower full blast with their Arc'teryx jacket as a flex? But I mean, the Arc'teryx brand is still a beloved brand by the people who are genuinely into the corp and Gore-Tex aesthetic, but just like any other TikTok trend, it dies down and it moves on. Champion is a weird one on this list because it actually made a big comeback in like 2017 to 2019. I remember in my school, Champion was like the staple essential in everyone's outfit. All my friends had it, all my classmates had it, and even some of my teachers had it. But now I feel like Champion has lost that momentum. Like, every time I go to the mall and I see this, like, what happened? Who's designing this? Like, their basic wear is good and all, but what seems to be their main issue is their over designing problem. It feels like they're forcefully trying to stand out from any other brands, and with this they just kind of stick out kind of weird. It's probably the reason why I haven't really bought anything Champion. I mean, me and my friends were always wearing this brand, and now we don't really care about it as much. And I also feel like what really took out Champion was the Fear of God Essentials line. I feel like that's like the new champion of essentials, no pun intended. Although it's not dead in the water, it's just a brand that I've fallen out of love with, and then walking into the mall and seeing the most atrocious Champion designs on the sales rack doesn't really help. Who remembers these shit? CDG is not completely dead, but it's one of those brands that you randomly remember that was trendy a couple years ago, and then you wonder what happened to it. They're still releasing stuff, but it's just been kinda quiet. Part of me feels like Supreme will never die. I mean, it's a big part of streetwear and the face of hypebeast culture, and the box logo is so iconic, but it doesn't feel the same as it once was. It used to feel so rare, unique, and cool, but now it feels saturated, common, and cringe. I think it's more about the hypebeast culture that me and many people hate, and it just feels saturated. I mean, they collaborate with pretty much almost anything. I mean, just look at this stuff. What is this all stuff even for? I mean, they have made a brick at this point, so they'll pretty much do almost anything. I wonder what's next. A car, a plane, a easy bake oven. So when they just release a bunch of just random incohesive things, it just falls into that hypebeast void of just worshipping brands for the sake of worshipping brands, in the cost of its own authenticity, and that's what I feel Supreme lacks. How does this have anything to do with skateboarding? And I feel the same way with Bape. They also have a bunch of just random collaborations at one point, and I feel like the whole Bape aesthetic has gotten really stale. Loud, bold, obnoxious colors like this don't really resonate as much as it used to. Antisocial Social Club. Antisocial Social Club, or ASSC, really took off around 2017 when Kanye was seen wearing the now iconic hoodie. Back then, Nick, the guy who made the brand, was just a one-man army, and with his brand exploding pretty much overnight, some orders were filled and some did not, and that was the underlying problem with the brand. As popularity rose more and more, people would notice that they never received their orders. Weeks, months, and even years would pass without having no follow-up on what happened to missing orders. The problem grew so large that in almost every post that they make, the comments are filled with people trying to find some answer to missing orders. Although you can argue that the brand is not necessarily dead, but I definitely do believe that ASSC has become one of the most hated fashion brands in recent years. Yeezy.
Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially hip.
And before we go to the top picks, let's pay some respect to some truly dead fashion brands. Here are some honorable mentions: Thrasher, Obey, and Diamond Supply. These shits defined the era of 2015. Thrasher, Obey, and Diamond Supply were one of the most popular brands that you can wear back in 2015. I remember everyone in my school would at least have one Thrasher hoodie or an Obey t-shirt, and it was always sold out at the mall. And if you had some Diamond Supply, bro. But those days are long gone, and now it's just a burning memory. Alright, now getting to the top 3. Vlone. A brief history lesson on Vlone is that it was founded in 2011 by ASAP member ASAP Bari. The brand really took off in 2017 with the Vlone tee that took over streetwear, and it was one of the most fastest growing brands. Eventually, it secured a spot in Paris Fashion Week, and it topped that with a collaboration with Nike. Everything was going perfectly for this brand until the allegations surfaced against ASAP Bari, accusing him of, not respecting women's boundaries. And when these allegations hit, people who were close to the brand distanced themselves. Vlone was never invited back to Paris Fashion Week, and Nike canceled the Vlone Air Force 1 release. Surprisingly, this fall off didn't completely kill the brand, but it's no longer what it once was. They're still trying to fix and recover from the after effect, but the damage has been done. The future of Vlone is uncertain for now, since the creator ASAP Bari essentially got kicked off his own brand, but Vlone still has potential though, but they got a lot of work ahead of them. But it's also a race against time, because every day they're just being more and more forgotten. It looks like right now, at the time of recording this, there's no new announcements of any release. Social media presence is at a minimal. Who knows what it is next. Balenciaga. As most of y'all already know the controversy that happened with Balenciaga about a month ago, but to sum it up, they released some pictures about their new lineup release involving children in some straight up inappropriate things. I'm not gonna get too deep into it. If you know, you know. Most of y'all probably already know. And with this, it sparked a lot of backlash and a protest. I mean, it's one thing for your brand to not be as popular as it once was and business being slow or the owner leaving or quitting, but it's a whole nother thing when you use the innocence of a child for your profit. This brand is so disgusting and so down bad, but time has passed and people have forgotten the whole controversy. Balenciaga is a mega corporation and they are on top of the fashion chain. Unfortunately, they're probably going to be fine. And at number 1, Revenge X Storm. Revenge X Storm has to be the most hated, the most forgotten, the most down bad fashion brand. But it wasn't always like this. Back in 2017, in its peak popularity, every celebrity had this shoe on. And I never understood the hype of this shoe. It was literally just a regular van with a lightning bolt and more expensive. It was just a blatant ripoff in my eyes. And this is the first flaw of the brand. Anyone with a little bit of common sense in business would know that when you use heavily the likeness of another brand and make loads money off of it, eventually it's going to lead to a lawsuit, and that's exactly what happened. And so with the lawsuit, Ian Connor was forced to sell the brand. Which brings us to the next flaw of the brand, Ian Connor. To put it simply, Ian Connor was on demon time 24/7. I mean, bro was going in and out of jail like if it was a 9 to 5, catching different cases from different offenses, but his worst offense has to be not respecting women's boundaries, which sounds kind of familiar. And at one point, he was being accused from 30 plus different women, accusing him of unconsensual intimacy assault, or the R word. Needless to say, bro was kinda wild. He even went through this weird period where he was obsessing over Osama bin Laden like a 13-year-old girl obsessing over Jenna Ortega. And it's crazy seeing how some of his fans still defend him after everything. I mean, everything that I've mentioned is very surface level. There's still a bunch of other bad things that he has done. He is not a good person. And so with Ian Connor's poor behavior, him and his brand will constantly go through many cancellations, to the point where people will start referring to his brand as the R word brand, and nobody's trying to be associated with the R word. And taking a look at the Revenge Storm website, everything has just been sitting. Things are going into sale and everything is still in stock. And they're still using the bootleg models even now, including the Air Jordan 1. And oh my god, have you seen this? $220 for this? This looks like a toy that came out of a Happy Meal. And I'm not gonna say anything on the dunks, they just speak for themselves. And so from its very shaky foundation from the very beginning, with no real backbone, and the poor choices from Ian Connor and its whole wildness, Revenge X Storm quickly came and it went, leaving us with a big old fat pack to smoke to remember what once was.